Welcome back everyone to a brand new tier list video on this channel. This is the Inscryption Act 1 every card tier list. So normally I do Isaac stuff on this channel, but this game has kind of like taken me by the throat and just ragdolled me around. This game is amazing. If you have not played Inscryption, I highly recommend you do before watching this video because there are some spoilers kind of in here, or like at least like some hidden mechanics you can take advantage of. So if you haven't played the game already, I would recommend playing at least through the first act of it and then coming back to watch my list here. So you're a little bit caught up at least, but yeah, this is every single Act 1 card. I'm not going to be going off of, like, it could be good with this sigil if you have the sacrifice, or it could be good with this campfire bonus, or this totem. I want to go with what what the card just has to offer off the bat here. I'm not going to go off, like, special, situational, like, if you have the bone totem with this head, you can get infinite things here. It's just what the card offers and how, applicable it is to your average run. So without further ado, let's start off, and we have the adder for our first card. This sigil right here, the cross bones and skull thing, that will mean that no matter how much health the creature across from it has, this will one-hit that creature, which sounds like it'd be really OP, right? There's a couple caveats to that, though. The 1 HP thing means that no matter, you can only place this card down as a reactionary card. If you place it in any empty slot and Leshy moves a card into that point, your adder is now dead and you wasted a 2 sacrifice card. This card can really only be placed in reaction to a powerful card. You gotta really make it worth your time. And I think that it gets a little bit of an overrating just because of that. There is one added benefit, though, and the fact is that if you give this card to a campfire and the campfire residents eat it, you now get 4 free upgrades to every campfire in the game from then on out. And that as a whole benefits your entire run, which I really like a lot. But as a card playing on the field, like, you're going to be, I think, with the campfire bonus, you're probably going to be B. Also, it is really useful for taking down, like, grizzlies, taking down elks, taking down the freaking moon like Gru does. It does make those fights a lot easier. Next up, we have the Alpha. The Alpha is a pretty average-looking wolf card, except for it has one kind of major thing, and it costs 5 bones. While bones are not the hardest thing to come by the time you have enough bones to play this card down, it's going to be underpowered for that point in your run, and it's just not going to do a lot. The sigil allows it to power up the creatures next to it, which it could, let's say this card was free. That one sigil alone could make, a one-turn sweep for you. It can give a squirrel a power. It can give, like, 0-hit cards extra power. But the caveat is the 5 bones, man. That's really steep in price for a card that does 1 damage on its own and relies on other cards to get buffed to do its damage for it. I'm going to put it in D. I've never found a use out of this card that's been really, really helpful on my runs. Next, we have the Amalgam, who I think is a really interestingly good card. The whole pull of the Amalgam is that it mimics every single, kin type. It counts for, bonuses from squirrel totems, ant totems, insect totems, amphibian totems, things like that. It benefits from every upgrade to those creatures. And that alone, like, I know as I said earlier, I'm not going to go off of just having one certain totem, but this benefits from literally having any totem whatsoever. If you get, like, a flight or an unkillable thing on one creature, this benefits from that as well. And I think that is worth a lot. So I'm going to put the Amalgam in A. I found great use. Also, it's a 3-for-3 at base, and it only costs 2. Not a lot of cards. Like, look at a card like the Beaver. It's a 1-3 for 2. Look at, like, even the Bloodhound. It's a 2-3 for 2. Like, you don't really find cards that are this insanely powerful that are just this cheap to play. I really appreciate the Amalgam a lot. Next, we have the Amoeba, whose sigil basically is it gives it a random sigil whenever it's played or used. And I like RNG in my games. I'm a roguelike player after all, but it's kind of unreliable. The benefit here, though, is it only costs 2 bones, and 2 bones can get played after, like, maybe 2 to 3 turns. You're safe to play your Amoeba down if you have it in your starting deck, which is pretty cheap. It's the same thing as the Alpha. Like, look at the stats here, right? 1, 2, and it could give you that same sigil or a better sigil, and it costs, like, 3 less bones. That's a B card. Even if you don't want to use it for its, like, sigil capabilities, just having a 2-bone, like, damage dealing card, that's pretty nice. It's like the Opossum, but kind of better. The Opossum. The Possum, but better. We'll come back and we'll organize these tiers later by, like, actual, order, but for now, we'll keep going on here. We have the Worker Ant next. The ant sigil means that this card's power is equal to how many ants you have on the board at the time. So it's always going to be at least a 1 damaging card because that's, your 1 ant on the board. And at base, for a 1 damaging 2 health card that has like only 1 blood cost, that's not bad. If you get multiple of them, you really can stack up some pretty high damage there. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've never found success in an insect-based ant build without some kind of other natural benefit from a campfire or like a sigil. At base, it's a fine starting card, but I really don't see it being more than that. You're not going to be pulling out your ant cards late games, I'm trying to say. You're not really going to be like making an insect build for the trapper fight. So I'm going to put you in C. You're not bad, but you're not necessarily good. And next we have the Ant Queen, who I believe her sigil. Ant Queen. Ant Spawner. When played, creates a worker ant in your hand. That's what I thought. Okay, so this card is also pretty interesting. When you play this card down, you'll gain an ant you can play next turn in your hand, which means you could essentially, if this card lives 1 turn, you're looking at having a 2 damage, 3 health card, for as long as you need it for until it dies, which it sounds pretty good. And if you find somehow like you get another ant like in your hand out of your deck, it can be a 3 for 3. However, you look at any other card on the board, look at the Amalgam. It's already a 3 for 3, and it doesn't require you to have ants or take up your entire board with ants, because honestly, like, both the ants, it'll be a 2 for 2 and a 3 for 3. It kind of buffs the other units up. But again, I don't want to take away 2 of my spots that can be used for sacrificing or can be used for placing down more of like an actual good card or a good situational, strategy card. It's just, I mean, I'm going to put it in B, because there is warrant to having a 2 for 2. I mean, you get an Ant Queen and an Ant in your starting deck, you're going to have a 5 damaging, double unit right there. So you're going to go in B. The Ant in itself is fine. The Ant Queen, like, it can do some good work for you, but again, as your runs go on, you're going to find less and less use out of it. Next, we have the Bat, who again costs a lot of bones. It's 4 bones. That's like maybe at best a turn, like a really good turn, or really bad for you, I guess. Really bad turn 2, or a decent turn 3 where you can pull out the Bat. And for only doing 2 damage, like, I don't know. It's going to die in 1 hit, and it costs 4 of your bones. It's pretty lame to me. It can't live a single hit. It does do 2 hits, but I think if I was having my, bones in my hand, I'd rather use a more effective card. Again, it's not terrible. Flight is a really powerful sigil to have early on, and it does some really cool things for you. So I'm going to put you in C. And I think you're better than the Alpha, because, like, believe it or not, the jump from 4 bones to 5 bones is pretty extreme, especially for the Alpha only really doing 1 damage, less than the Bat does, and they're both probably going to die in 1 hit. The thing with this game with damage and health is that most cards you'll be facing will do more than 1 damage, so, like, having 1 health to 2 health doesn't really make a big difference to me. You're going to be losing those cards, like, I think, in 1 hit anyways, usually, so I'll put you in C because Flight's powerful, but aside from that, you're kind of a waste of my bones, I feel like. The Beaver. You're paying 2 blood for a 1 to 3 card. 1 damage, 3 health. The benefit here, though, is that on either side of the Beaver, it places down 2, I believe they're 2 health dams. It's a good defensive card, it really is, but you can't sacrifice the dams. So if you place the dams down and you place it in the middle of the board, you're essentially going to be working with half the spaces you get to use, which can be good for, farming and, grabbing more cards out of your deck, more squirrels, more wolf, stuff like that. Well, yeah, that can be good. I find the Beaver more annoying than anything, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to place a dam there. I want to play a card there next turn. And that space won't be gone by the time the next turn hits. So it's like kind of like a really weird defensive trade-off there. I don't know, man. The Beaver, I don't get too much out of. I usually tend to skip him when I get him. He's really good for playing the long game, but I'd rather have a card that can just kind of like right away, end my turns, and have a card that can wait out for a while and potentially end my turn. Plus, if you place the dams down, unless she places down a flying card next to your, like, in front of your dam, you have now lost a space on the board, and you're now going to be getting hit every single turn no matter what you do. The dams, I think, more screw you over than anything. While you can find use out of them, you're paying 2 blood for a 1 damaging card, that's kind of ridiculous in my eyes. There's no way you're going to put down the Beaver in the same tier as the Ant. Like, that's ridiculous to me. You're going in the D tier. I'm sorry. I was going to put you in C at first, but I've convinced myself to put you in D. I apologize, Mr. Beaver. You'll get your time one day, you know? Oh, we have the Beehive. The Beehive is the first, or one of the first, like, spawning cards we have, where upon hit, it'll create a bee in your hand. The Beehive itself does nothing, aside from just tank hits for you, which is useful, because you can also sacrifice it. The difference here from the Beaver is that you can't sacrifice your dams as far as I'm aware, so you kind of just lose spaces on the board. If you get a flying card next to your Beehive, you can always sacrifice your Beehive and place a different card down there, which can make you kill the flying creature that's attacking you, ergo killing it. I like the Beehive. I didn't really get much use out of it in my playthrough. I think one run I had like a really strong insect totem and bee build, but the Beehive itself for tanking potentially 1 to 2 hits, maybe only just 1 hit most of the time, and then spawning an attacking flying card in your place. Bees are also free, by the way, meaning that you can place those down and just get free fodder like that. I don't know, man. Beehive and like Beehive, you only get bees with the Beehive, so the bee can't be above the Beehive in a normal run. B for B. I think B for B right there makes sense. B for B. We might put those down and see if our list is pretty unbalanced by the end, but I think B for B right now makes sense. Because you're getting, like, flying is probably one of the most powerful sigils to have early on. It bypasses all of Leshy's shit for a while. That's really, really nice. And you can generate potentially 2 every Beehive that you place. I mean, come on, that's pretty damn good. Next up, we have the Black Goat, who is a card. I didn't really understand it at first when I first pulled it in my, like, you know, first few Inscryption runs, but there is a lot of value to this card. So the Black Goat he costs 1 blood to place, but he gives you back 3 blood when you sacrifice him. That's really, really good. Because a lot of the time when you're fighting a boss, you want to be placing down your Grizzly Bears, your Uralies, and more expensively costing cards. And the Black Goat makes that super easy to do within your first, like, 2 to 3 turns. The problem with it is you have to pull this and then pull a stronger creature, which can be a bit of a hard thing to do. But, dude, honestly, like, I found a lot of use of it. Plus, to me, what I want to do with him is just, I usually sacrifice him and give the sigil to a better card later on in the run. But just for having his sigil alone makes him, like, one of the stronger cards in the game. I think it's A tier. You can literally place this card down. If you pull a hand of a Black Goat and a Great White or a Bear or like even a Urali, or what else is like 3 charge here? Even the 2 charge, like an Elk, or even like the 2 charge cards is the two charge cards. Jesus Christ. You can place those down together and you can get a really, really steep turn 1. Black Goat's useful just for his sigil alone. You're going in A tier. You're amazing. You honestly are amazing. The Bloodhound. It is a card that is very fun to fight against. You can kind of like duke it out, or like, not duke it. You can like juke it out occasionally, and you can like make it so the Bloodhound goes in front of a squirrel instead of your powerful card. You can really make it work like that. It's fun to play against. In actual use, I'm gonna say this right here. It might be kind of like a dumb take, but any card that moves on its own, I am not a fan of. I have found so much struggle in wanting like planning a move ahead of time to have my Bloodhound or my Elk or my Fawns go to that exact space that I want to be in. It's like, oh my god, like, why did you have to do that? I just wanted to have some easy damage out there. I'm not a big fan of cards that move. But in a 2 price 2 to 3 is actually pretty okay. I like that ratio. And Bloodhound, you know, no, it also protects you from hits as well. This is one of the moving cards that I kind of respect, just because it does block hits for you pretty easily, and it does some damage as well, and can tank, you know, 2 to 3 hits, or 1 to 3 hits, I guess. I don't want to put you in C. I'll put you in B for now, but we're getting a lot in our B's here. They're kind of like a lot of averagely, like, decently good cards. The Bullfrog. It is a card that after your first, like, Prospector fight becomes, I think, quite a bit less useful. I know that the Angler has the Kingfishers, but I don't know, like, it is fine. it can potentially be a 2 damaging card for you if it tanks one of the hits, or you want to just leave it on the board to block some flying damage easily. I don't know. I think when you get put in a place in an Inscryption where you're trying to play defensively against a strong card, you've already lost the game. If you're just placing down Bullfrogs to block Leshy's really strong flying cards, at that point you've lost the game. You're trying to fight a losing battle, and I think trying to play super defensively with these cards kind of makes your runs just take longer for no reason. You're a good card to have in the beginning because you are a first turn play with a squirrel, and that is pretty, nice to have. Ah, man. Like, your sigil is pretty good because blocking flying cards is pretty nice for this game. But it's just like, you are okay. You're not bad by any means. You're not a waste by any means, but it's just like there are so many cards that do what you do. And honestly, a little bit better. Well, I'm looking at the card list now, and I guess nobody else has the airborne blocking sigil that you do. Normally, I would just sacrifice you and gain and put it on like the what's it called, the River Snapper and stuff. But I guess due to your unique nature, you kind of have a leg up on everybody else. And I have found use out of airborne blocking cards. Excuse me. Again, I guess you're like a B-based card. I don't know, though. Like, you're going to probably end up being C. It's the same. You're getting the same thing as the Worker Ant, but like just a buffed sigil. And after early game, you're already going to be gone from my deck by a sacrifice. So, like, you only serve the first third of the first act of the game. So, I don't know. You're probably going to be a C tier for me. You have a unique sigil, but one that I can put on anything else, I feel like. And your card stats do not make you that appealing, I feel like. We have the Caged Wolf, who I believe, like, after it gets hit, it breaks out and becomes, like, a really strong thing. Caged Wolf. Wolf will appear in its place. And also your deck. Okay. Yeah. So you get, like, 2 wolves out of 1 here, pretty much. It's good. Think of it this way, right? You pay 2 blood to place it down, and you're gaining a 6 HP defensive card that is just tanking hits for you. And then when that dies, a wolf appears in both your deck and on the board. That's, like, really good. I think the Cage Wolf is only a one-time play, though. I think once you break the cage, that's it. And that kind of brings, I think, its whole usefulness down, because after one time breaking it at any point in your game, you're done. Like, the Caged Wolf is gone forever. But for a one-time use card, like, it's pretty damn good. It's really, really good. The fact that you spawn 2 wolves means that if you pull out this card in, like, a really good run, it could be game-winning for you. It could be game-winning for you. So, I think... Again, we have a lot of cards in the B tier right now. I'm going to also put you in B. We might end up moving the B down and the Beehive down soon. Because I'm like thinking, like, are they really that much better than the Bullfrog at all? I mean, the Bullfrog actually does damage on its own. I think, honestly, Beehive is down here. The B card, here's my reasoning for that, is the B card is good. It's a free flight and health. The Beehive is just, man, but you can't put them in separate tiers. They're one and the same. They're one and the same. I'll put you guys are C tier. I'll explain that at the end of our video when we do our final rankings here. But I'm gonna put you in C for now. Now we have the cat and the undead cat. The really cool thing about this card is it's super unique, is that you can sacrifice it infinite times. Well, 9 times, that is, in a turn. When you because it essentially works as like a infinite use squirrel for whatever game you have it on. And I know you can put the 3 blood on this, you can put the undying thing on it, and it makes it super, super strong. Again, I'm just going off of how a card is at base, how a card actually functions at base. And at base, you're still pretty good. You are still pretty good, and putting you on the board is like having an infinite use squirrel. I really enjoy that. I do. You're also a free hit for us. That's also pretty nice to have. Yeah, I mean, you're like you might honestly be an A tier card. you might honestly be an A tier card. Because you're essentially like a better squirrel. You save me turns for picking out squirrels from my deck, and I can draw more from my combat-oriented deck and play the game that way. You definitely make boss fights and regular encounters easier to deal with. They're going to go in A. Now, the Undead Cat. This is a very good card. It's a 6 health, 3 damage for 1 blood. That's pretty crazy. The only caveat is this card only appears if you sacrificed your cat 9 times and is only available for that battle. So while it can be good for boss fights, usually within 9 turns of sacrificing, you're not going to ever... I never saw this card in my playthrough of the game, ever. It is way too rare to be considered viable, and to try to play around spawning your undead cat, you're not playing the game right at that point. You're going to go in D. I did not even see you once in my entire time playing the game. How can I put you anywhere higher than that? How? Now we have Child 13, who, why does he have the extra, does he always have that extra sigil? Child 13. Why does it have like a, is that the trifocal thing? That shouldn't be on that card, as far as I'm aware. It shouldn't have that. You sacrifice it, it'll change form. Oh, okay, so never mind. I'm wrong about that. Child 13, this is how it works, right? Whenever you sacrifice the card, it gets like a different secondary sigil and it just changes forms. After 13, it becomes the Hungry Child, which I think is just like a pretty normal card if I'm not mistaken. You're better than the cat because you actually deal damage and you gain different sigils based on when I sacrifice you. You're better than the cat, so you're going in A. Now, there are another Child 13 down here, though, who does 0 damage, who is the same thing as the cat. I mean, any infinitely sacrificing card for me that I can, like, you know, place down for free or place down for 1 blood and just keep sacrificing every single turn is going in there. Child 13 is, like, the dream card to have on a run where you have a lot of expensively based blood cards you can keep, you know, sacrificing until you get a really good, like, you can also play the long game and sacrifice so you find the trifocal thing. Right now, look at this card's stats. 2 damage, 1 health, 3 ways of attacking. That's 6 damage per turn with this. If you leave the card as it is right now, that is like a busted ass card. So yeah, you're going in A, and you as well, Child, like you and the cat, like you guys are just any kind of infinite sacrificing card I am a slut for. They're so goddamn good. The Cockroach. When this thing dies, it returns back to your hand. It cannot be killed, technically, right? And I want to make sure I'm right, because this is where I get into the weird cards here, right? Yeah, it creates an exact copy in your hand. So, the caveat here is this one costs 4 bones as well. And you only really get to play this card once in a turn, or once in a game, because costing 4 bones means that if you want to place it back down after it already dies, you're going to be, paying another 4 bones and 4 bones and 4 bones. So yeah, like if we're only 1-to-1 for 4 bones, I can place down a flying 2-to-1 card here. Like, come on, you're kind of bogus. Now, I will say there are points in the game where I really want to pull a bone card right now because I have a lot of bones to use. And in that case, I'd love to pull a cockroach and use my 20 bones to play a cockroach down. But it just doesn't always happen that way. And for 1-to-1 especially, you're going to die in 1 turn. You are the skeleton of Act 1. You're not that good. Get over yourself. The Corpse Maggot, however, this card is crazy. No matter how many bones you have, this card will place itself down. It costs 5 bones to place regularly, but if a card on the board that you own perishes, this card will immediately take its place. It is a free 1-to-2. If you pull this card in the first second of your deck, and you place a squirrel down and that squirrel dies immediately, you then get a free 1-to-2 card on the board for essentially nothing. That's really, really good. I found like really good strategy in this card. In fact, I used this card to win my first run of Act, or my only run, I guess, of Act 1 that I won. This card was the reason I won against a Trapper fight. So, I mean, take that as you will. It's a really good strategy-based card. The Coyote. I mean, you're 4 bones and you're the reverse of the alpha. You are literally a worse bat. It's just like these... The problem is, like, you have to have use with your bones. I mean, okay, here's the thing. You can pay for 4 bones you can place on a 1-to-1 card that gets put back in your deck for 4 more bones. Or you can place down a coyote, which is just a 2-to-1. And you're only going to be really playing 1 4-bone card in a regular encounter. You're just bad with no flight. I think you're fine because, again, it is nice to have cards that use your bones because I don't find... I usually, when I play a deck, right, because the bone cards are rarer to find than your actual... Excuse me, like blood cards. I don't get enough bone cards to, like, truly make these builds work, but... I mean, yeah, you're C tier. I mean, you cost 4 bones, so that's like, 3 turns. I can place down a 2 damaging card. Sure, yeah, you can make a case for that, I guess. That's fine where it is. The Douse. You place down chimes, and whenever something attacks a chime, it creates thorns? But I don't know how you get that to work because the chime gets placed in the space across from you. I think... Okay, so I had to look at what the Douse does. I've never actually seen the Douse in my actual, like, playthrough of the game, but I understand what he does now. He's a better beaver, because once you place a Douse down, in the 2 spaces next to it, what it'll do is it'll create, 2 chimes there. And of those 2 chimes, whenever they get hit, it'll deal essentially thorns damage to the enemy that hit it, which makes the Douse insanely good against the Mantis enemy, or literally anything. It pretty much creates like 3 combat cards on the board, which all do 2 damage when they're hit or killed. So the Douse, that's like an A tier card for 2. It's a 2 for 2 for 2 blood, worse than the Amalgam, but it puts down 2 blocking cards that will also deal 2 damage when they are hit, which could be like 6 damage. If they only take, if it's like a 1 damaging card on the chime, the Douse can then deal 2 in front of it. That's a lot of fucking damage. The Douse is actually cracked. Douse is A. I wish I would have seen you on my run, man. I never saw the Douse on my run at all, which is very sad because it's a very good card, it looks like. Next up, we have the... I'm going to go a little faster here, by the way. Next up, we have the Elk Fawn. I feel like for the Elk Fawn and the Elk, I put them here for 2 reasons. Number 1 is that I don't like movement cards. We've been over this before. I'm not a big fan of movement cards. I think that they mess up my strategy. And you can play around with the movements, but like I usually end up just forgetting what they do, or like I'll forget I have them on the board and it'll just mess up my entire strategy. Stuff like that. And plus, like... I don't know, like, a 2 to 4 card is not that good. 3 to 3, you want more damage in this game, right? The way that damage and health work in this game is that you want to have more damage, because a 4 card, that's a 2-tap and you're dead. And the 3 card is also a 2-tap and you're dead. I'd rather have the extra point of damage as well, and just the movement, it takes it away from me. I don't like the movement-based cards. They really just, they don't do it for me. It's a personal choice. They're okay cards, but personally, I'm putting them a bit lower on the tier list. In fact, I might put both of you in... I'll put you in B for right now. But anyways, yeah, I just don't like movement-based cards that much. We have the Field Mice next, who, when played, will create a copy of the Field Mice in your hand. They cost 2 to play. It's a 2 for 2 for 2. It's a worse Douse, pretty much, because it doesn't create chimes, but it does create copies in your hand. So the benefit here is that because it creates a copy in your hand, if this card is at 1 HP, you can sacrifice that plus a swirl to pretty much revitalize the entire health of it, which is nice. But I just... I mean, even the regular wolves, like, the wolves do more than they do for the same price. But they're replenishable is the thing. They are replenishable. I do enjoy that aspect of them a lot. So... You're probably going to be C tier, honestly. Like, I might play you once in a battle, maybe twice if I need you, but I would probably rather have a stronger card at that point. But whatever. The Gek. Dude, I love the Gek. This card is one of the rare cards in the game, and it essentially is like a squirrel that you can play immediately. It costs 0 blood to play, and it does 1 damage and has 1 health. It's a nice card to draw off the bat to get that 1 extra point of cheeky damage right away. I do enjoy that a lot. Yeah, dude, the Gek, like, man, that card's all right. Honestly, it's one of the more fun rare ones. It's an instant point of damage for you, potentially more. if you buff that card up as well, it becomes like essentially a really powerful squirrel for you. I enjoy the Gek. It's a free sacrifice, free squirrel, does damage. It's the best of everything. I love the Gek. Greater Smoke, A tier. You get it during every boss fight immediately. It deals a damage, it deals a point of damage, and gives you 4 bones, which makes essentially every bone card move up a tier on a boss fight. Greater Smoke is really, really, really good. And right, we can just go ahead and put down like the smoke here in B, because it doesn't deal any damage, and it's, you know, the Greater Smoke's like whole pull is that if you place it like, you know, far left, far anywhere on the board, there's no enemy coming down, you do get free damage, and when that card dies, you get more bones, or you can just sacrifice it for a 2 blood card off the bat. The Greater Smoke is amazing. It's probably one of the, it probably is the best card to get during a boss fight, and you get it every single boss fight, so you know. Great White. I have a love-hate with tail cards when they duck down. So essentially what this does is it gives the card across from you the Airborne Sigil, and when it is not your turn, the Great White or the Otter will hide under the water, and the card across from you will hit you directly or hit the opponent directly. It is pretty good. I hate fighting against them, and I never find myself really making a great strategy for them. The only way to properly kill a Great White is to use a card that has thorns. It's pretty much the only way to kill them, so they are really, really powerful. And it does have really good stats. The problem is it costs 3 blood. I would honestly give up, like, if you were, let's say, like, situationally here, you're in the Trapper fight, and you start with the Greater Smoke, a Squirrel, and best case scenario, like Black Goat or a Gek. You can play a Great White in 1 turn, and you will end that boss fight, like, literally in 2 turns, which is really powerful. You are an A tier card. You are a really, really, really good card. Yeah, that's all I can say about you. The Grizzly is like, I would say even better, because it can tank hits for you. The problem with the Great White, though, is you place it down in a place where, like, the card across from you is really powerful. You're just trading hits the entire battle at that point. The Grizzly is kind of like the best of both worlds, where you can, it'll tank hits for you with its 6 health, because it has a lot of health, and it'll deal 4 damage. Grizzly as well, like, get one of these cards on the board, and you're going to be sweeping for a while. If it has 4 damage or more, or even just, like, honestly, at this point, 3 damage, isn't 8. Honestly, dude, hold on. Like, we got to use our S tier here. I'm looking at this. I'm putting Greater Smoke in S tier. I got to do it. And then I'm going to put the Great White. Nah, not an S tier. We'll talk about the S tier, I guess, a little bit later. But we'll move on here. I think that it's important that we use the S tier properly here, 100%. We'll talk about that when we get to it, though. The Kingfisher, it has flight, and it does not take any damage, pretty much. Really freaking annoying card. Really annoying card to fight against. One of the worst cards, honestly. But to have in your arsenal, I mean, it essentially becomes like, the thing with these flipped cards, or these cards that go underwater or hide, is that they become damaging squirrels for you pretty much. They can't be killed, so you can have them on the board as long as you want, as long as there's no thorns card in front of you. As far as I'm aware, there's not really a really proper way to kill these cards. They're really good, but a 1-to-1, like, it's a 1-1-1, 1 blood, 1 damage, 1 health. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I don't want to keep putting cards in A because they have this 1 sigil, but, like, the hiding sigil, it isn't really that good, though, because I like to block hits, though, because I don't want to, like, put them down and have a card across from it, you know, have, like, 3 damage and just kill me in 1 turn. Like, I'd rather just have the blocking, I think. It's a good sigil, but for a 1-1-1, I don't think I'd play you over anything else in my deck. Long elk. Long, very long elk. It has the touch of death, which means 1 hit, 1 kill. And it moves. It kills the campfire people. And it costs 4 bones. There's a lot to take in right there. I only used you once in my deck, and you did kill the moon for me, I believe, as well. You're in the same tier as the Adder. You are definitely in the same tier as the Adder. I don't like the movement. Damage is insanely good for the Touch of Death, obviously. 2 health is better than the Adder, and you make my bones worthwhile. It's a funny card, but it's not that good outside of, like, just being, you know, a Touch of Death card. But it looks funny, and I like that. I like it about it, and it makes the campfires better in your runs, too. So I have to respect it, you know. So we'll move on quickly. We'll go to the Magpie. Magpie is an S tier card. This might be, like, literally the best card in the game. Not only is it a flight card that does damage, it also has the unique ability of allowing you to look into your deck when you play it and pull out any card that you want. You could literally, like, if you pull this Magpie frame 1 and you have a way to put it down turn 1, you might just win. Like, you win the battle that way. You can go on your deck and just pull out any card that you want. Grizzly, Great White, like Queen Ant, Amalgam, Black Goat. This really is the ultimate card in the game. I love the Magpie. It is one of the best. There's no arguing about that. Mantis God as well, I think, is going to go in S. it is essentially a 3 damaging 1 health card that does spread damage. It'll hit 1 in front, 1 to the left, 1 to the right. It's 3 damage for 1 blood, and if you place it in the right place, you will not be getting... You can have essentially... This is a free turn 1 win. Think of it this way, right? Leshy is going to put out, you know, 1 Bloodhound coming down, you know, middle left. If you put the Mantis God down turn 1, that's 1, 2, 3 damage. The Bloodhound comes down, does nothing. Next turn you start. You are still free of anything being in front of you. That's 1 to the Bloodhound, 2 to Leshy, that's 5, he's done. This is a 1-turn win card, one of the best in the game. Mantis, I'm going to put in A. The biggest drawback of the Mantis God and the Mantis itself is that they only have 1 health. So they are a 1-tap death in most situations, which sucks. And they also die to, like, or they also get, you know, rendered useless by any kind of stink card like the possum or the skunk. The skunk. It sucks that way. But Mantis God is a turn 1 win. This guy is like a 3-turn win if you have the right setup for it, but no, you're fine in A. Like, we have a good tier, so we have a good, like, spread so far, I think. And we'll move on to the Mole Man, who is the most defensive card in the entire game. He will literally go to any point in the board of damage we dealt to, like, let's say Leshy has the card, right? No matter where you put a card to hit Leshy, this guy will block that hit until he's dead. Very defensive card. If you get this turn 1, you can essentially just farm for squirrels until you have enough to put down a really powerful card after it. Biggest draw. Oh, you have the air blocking sigil. You have the blocking sigil. See that he has Mighty Leap on him. Very, very good. You're an A tier card. You're really, really good. You can essentially farm cards so you find a really good card. Drawback, no damage dealt with him, but that's honestly fine because he has so much goddamn health and just blocks every hit that comes towards you. I'm not a big fan of using the defensive cards like properly. I'm an idiot and a dumbass, but generally, I find the Mole Man for a 1 blood card to be really good. And on the other side of that, we have the Mole, who is missing 1 sigil, costs the same, and it has 2 less health. It's not the biggest downgrade in the world, but it's enough to put it down a whole tier. You'd rather have the Mole Man because he costs the same and he just does more. I'd rather have the Mole Man. There's no argument there. Moose Buck. This might be one of the most annoying cards in the game to fight against and also have at the same time. Instead of just, you know, being a normal dude and moving over 1 space, he pushes every card that you have over 1 space, which is like, it messes up so much. But he's a 3 to 7 card for 3, which is a really powerful ratio on twitter.com. You're B. I don't like when cards push things over, and I can get the same damage from a 2 cost card and not fuck up my entire deck, so screw you entirely. You're going in B. Okay. Next we have the strange pupa and stuff like that. Where did I put you? You're right here. No, I lost you. I'm sorry. They're over here. We have strange larva, strange pupa, then Mothman. You place down a strange larva. After 1 turn, it becomes a strange pupa. After another, it becomes the Mothman, who is like literally the most powerful card in the entire game. It has cost 2 turns of not dying to get there. The strange larva and pupa on there. When you see it in your deck, you're like, holy shit, I have the Mothman if I don't die. it's a really risky game to try to play him down and not die. They don't do, they're also like, I mean, if you want to use it, it's a weird, you can use these cards as just like defense to put down in front of like a card that's doing a lot of damage to you. So you can use them not only for the Mothman transformation, but for defense as well. They're not that great. They're gonna go in B because they cost one blood for, it's like putting a squirrel that has 3 health. It's not super great, but because they become the Mothman, who has 7 damage and 3 health, the best ratio of health damage in the entire game. Reverse of the Elk, costs 1 because of the larva and all that, and he flies. This is actually, this is the instant win card. It will literally kill Leshy in 1 hit, no matter what the situation is. Unless you're down like 10 points, or 4 points, I guess is the thing there. You will be killing Leshy in literally 1 hit. So Mothman is like literally the best card in the game, followed by Magpie, Smoke, and Mantis God, I think. The Opossum is a 2-bone 1-to-1 card. The Possum. I made it out of clay. You make me... I feel bad, right? Because I'm putting the Bat and the Coyote in C tier. But 2 bones, that's literally, like... That is no matter what the situation is. That is a 2-turn card you can play down no matter how many things you've lost. If you put a squirrel down, sacrifice it once, put a squirrel down, sacrifice it once in your second turn, this is an instantly played card for you. And the earlier you play these bone cards, the better because they're so weak. And you wanted to get the early hits off and live for like maybe 1 or 2 turns, then die. Late game, you're not going to have a bone card living for more than like 1 turn. So the Opossum being this early to play and having this open of a board puts them in B over C, I think, for me for sure. Ouroboros, yeah, you're S tier. You're one of the best cards in the game as well. The big caveat of this card is that whenever he dies, he gains 1 damage and 1 health to his total count. And if you keep playing him over and over, you'll have a card that has like, you can get up to 87 health and like 87 damage. It's freaking crazy. This card is busted. If you find a way to make it cost less, or you find a way to, put the sigil on a different, like, it's just, this card is busted. You go onto any Inscryption Reddit post, you're just gonna see like, I found an OP synergy, and it's just a fucking Ouroboros being on the board for 1 turn. It's nutty, dude. This card's so much fun to use as well. Pack Rat is an A tier card. What this card does is you get this card if you already have 3 items and you visit an item post. Once you use one of your items and you play the card, this card will give you an extra random item to use in battle in the future. And for a 2 for 2 for 2, it's a free item when you play it. It's really freaking good. Plus, you can get multiple copies extremely easily, and then merge those with the Mushroom Man and get like a 2-4-4, which is even better than a 2-2-2, which is like just crazy good. And if you really want to get a bunch of Pack Rats, you can get a 2-6-6, which is like one of the strongest cards in the game. So yeah, Pack Rat's A for sure. The Pelts, I mean, like, dude, if we're talking strictly battle here, you're F tier. If we're talking strictly battle, you're 100% F tier. Gold Pelt at least has some warrant being in like B. Like, they're not, like, they can give you cards back and you get a choice. You get to pretty much draft your deck with these pelts. But I don't know where to put it because it's all random, right? Like, these cards don't really give you anything guaranteed. Gold Pelt can give you like any of these special cards up here, but only if you don't have to use it to like defend yourself on a random turn. So I'll keep you in A. I'll put you guys in, I guess, like C. Makes sense, but I don't really... I've never played the Pelt game for long enough to really realize what it truly does, but I've had some good wares from the golden pelts and stuff like that. It requires you to have a good build already. That's the thing, too, is like getting a golden pelt requires you to have a good build already to pay for one. You gotta be dealing excess damage to get teeth to pay for pelts. So if your build is already this good, you're not gonna get a huge buff out of having a golden pelt, which is why it's not gonna be an S tier, but I think A tier is fair and C tier for these two is fair as well. The Porcupine, B tier. It is one of the only ways you can kill the otters and the kingfisher and the sharks, and it also does damage to starvation cards, I'm pretty sure, which is the only way to kill starvation cards as far as I'm aware. It also only costs 1, and it deals a hit of damage and potentially will kill a card across from you. It's pretty nice. With upgrades as well, it can become one of your stronger cards in your deck. B tier seems fair. The Longhorn is a moving card. It's also bifocal though. So it does 2 damage per turn. to left and right, and also has 3 health. Where did I put the other elks? You're in B. Where? Oh, no, you're not D tier. You are gonna be in B as well. I mean, like, the thing, bifocal is a really good ability to have, but look at the regular elk. It's just 2 damage either way for either one of these. Now, sure, buffing this card up, it does 4 damage now, and that will only do 3. But base, like, they're the same exact card with less health. I don't know. And also, if the card moves to your right and it's against the wall, you're only dealing 1 hit of damage that turn instead of 2. It's just a hard card to manage, and it's honestly not worth it. The rabbit only gets played when you have a Warren card and you play that card. It'll give you a rabbit, which is a free sacrifice. It's like a squirrel for you, pretty much. There's some sacrifice, or there's some, like, strategy to be had here with these cards, but, like, overall, man, the Warren game is not one that I play too often. If you sacrifice a squirrel, play it down, you get a rabbit in your hand. So if you start with the Warren, you essentially have a free 2 blood start, which is pretty nice. But, like, it's just, it oversaturates your deck, and it just, I don't know, man. Like, it's, the Warren here, here's what I'll do, right? The Warren itself is B. The rabbit itself is C, because it doesn't do anything, aside from being extra sacrifice for you, and it requires this to spawn. You're going to be down there. Rat King, you're kind of a rare card, aren't you? You're kind of a rare card. Okay, here's the thing. Notice our tier list right now. Literally only 1 card on our A and S tier requires bones to do, and there's not that many bone cards to make useful in the game. So having, like, giving you 4 bones from a 2 blood sacrifice, it's good, but it's not beneficial in the same. Like, the Greater Smoke is beneficial simply because it's free. You get it every single boss fight for a free hit and free extra damage. That's really good. I really, really, really can't put Wrecking any higher just because it gives you 4 bones. I mean, you're basically paying 2 blood to get. I mean, it does 2 damage. It's pretty good 2 damage. You might be A, actually, but you do 2 damage. You die. I place down the long elk, or I place down, like, the amoeba, or I place down, coyote. Like, it snowballs. You are A. You do snowball pretty well. It's just you don't do a lot because the bone cards themselves are not the greatest thing in the game. But you do a lot. You snowball pretty well. I'll put you in A tier. Raven Egg becomes a Raven after 1 turn, which is a 2 to 3 card, and it costs 2 to place regularly. Raven Egg is one of the few, like, turn-based cards that starts with more than 1 freaking HP. You place this card right, you're going to have a Raven for 1 blood, which would be turn 2 Raven. But the problem is you can get a Raven regularly with 2 anyways, but in turn 2 anyways. The Raven's a really good card. 2 damage, flight for 3. I mean, like, a 2/2/3 with flight, that's pretty good. The egg itself, I'll put an A as well because it's a pretty... Once you see a Raven Egg on the board, it's easy to counter it against Leshy, but Leshy doesn't have the AI to counter your Raven Eggs very well, I feel like, so... Yeah, you know what? Excuse me there. You know what? You guys are both A for me. The Rattler is a 3 to 1, which is fine, but 6 bones, dude, like... I'm sorry, I can't give that a pass. 6 bones. Let's do our math here, right? In a boss fight, that could happen, turn 2 or 3, right? That could happen pretty easily. There is not going to be a normal encounter unless you're really struggling where the Rattler is going to, like, come out into play. At least in my experience personally. It's not going to happen very often. It's a little too harsh for... I don't know, but 3, like, you can get so many other 3 damaging cards just for playing blood. I mean, the Raven after 2 hits, like, you play it earlier and you get flight out of it, like... the bone meta. I've tried to play the bone meta so much, but I can never get the bone meta to work for me. I'll put you in C, But, like, I'm not putting you any higher. You just cost so goddamn much. Ringworm? The Ringworm does nothing. It is a free sacrifice. It kills the campfire people for you, and it counts for the ring trial. If you have a Ringworm on you, you'll pass the ring trial no matter what. It's literally utility only, and it does nothing on the field. You're D. I don't gotta explain that one at all, I feel like. River Otter is a 1/1/1 worst Kingfisher. So you're going to go Kingfisher. I don't know where I put him in. You're going to be in the same tier as him. Like, you do the same exact thing to me, honestly. I don't really care for you too much. River Snapper man, like, this card is not useful either, though. That's the thing, is the Snapper is not that good either. A 2/1/6. Dude, I don't know. A 2/1/6 is like, it's a lot of health. But you're never going to put it in a place where you're trying to deal damage. You're trying to negate damage, right? So this has potential to kill, you know, a wolf. This card is a good counter to a wolf, but a wolf is also a good counter to a wolf as well. Why would you play a Snapper down when you can play a wolf card, which will kill the wolf in one turn, and then you'll have all your health still, instead of, you know, having your health and dealing 1 damage? Snapper sucks. Snapper sucks. Real bad. The Skink has the ability to place a tail where it was last hit, making it so that it will not take damage until the board is filled up all the way. And I mean, that's pretty good. You can get some good sigils on this guy and make him, like, powerful, but at base, he's just all right. I mean, actually, he's pretty good, dude. Like, at base, the Skink, like look at this description right here, right? The Skink. Where are you? Yeah, so when a creature gets struck, move to the right or left where there's no space and create a tail in its place. The tail that takes 2 hits for you and has a mycologist buff, apparently. Like, that's really freaking good. Like, that is, if you get a Skink off the bat and you place that down, your entire board is going to be defended, so you can keep drawing cards and you have a very powerful swing you can make. Skink is an 8-tier card. I gotta say it, dude. I gotta say it. The Skunk is our first smelly card, which will actually negate 1 point of damage from the person in front of you and reduce their power. Dude, I think the smell method is underrated and underutilized. I've had so many builds where placing that down has saved my ass. It reduces the Mantis God's power to 0. Look at all these powerful cards, right? A lot of them that have the bifocal ability or can fly and, you know, hide underwater. This is one of the ways to negate the Kingfisher and the Otter really well. I honest to God think that the meta of reducing power is really good. The Skunk goes to B, though. It doesn't deal damage back. You're essentially just crossing out 1 slot on the board. Makes it easier for you to deal with stuff, but it makes you have less strategy overall. Now, to go skip ahead a minute here, the Stink Bug is an A-tier card. It makes use of your bones in an actual good card. If you put it in front of a 1 damaging card and reduce it to 0, you get a free kill like that. It genuinely is a really, really solid card. I don't gotta defend my point there. I feel like I've made it pretty accurately, but yeah, that's where I stand on the Stink Bug and the Skunk. The Sparrow is essentially if you merge the Raven Egg and Raven into 2 health, 1 damage, flight for 1. That's pretty good. It's not that impressive, but it's pretty good. I'll put it there. I like that one. The Tentacle with the Bell. The damage on this card is equal to how far away you are from the bell. So far right is a +4 damage. Middle right is +3. Middle left is +2. And left is 1. You essentially are paying 2 blood for a 4/3, which is better than the Amalgam. So you are going in A tier. I mean, you are like one of the best cards, I feel like. This one is a 1 blood card. Get fucking this. If the damage equals however many cards you have in your hand at the moment. So if you want to keep drawing swirls and place this 1 card down, that can be a 10 damaging card for you. And it only costs 1 blood. The drawback is, though, it dies in 1 hit no matter what. So you are going to be in A, but nothing amazing. And the Mirror Tentacle is going in B, because it mirrors the damage across from you. It's really hard to use properly, because a lot of the good cards have good damage and good defense, I feel like. Like, for example, if you put this guy in front of the Mothman, you would kill. I guess it is like a free kill on any card you place it in front of right away. But, like, I mean, it is. No, you're A tier, dude. All the tentacles are A tier. Get them all up there, man. Get them all up there. The Stoat. The Stoat, huh? 1 damage, 3 health, 1 blood. Also is the worst character ever. I fuck PO3 to death. I hate this man. He sucks. But the Stoat, you really aren't that good. I would honestly rather wait an extra turn to get a wolf, because that's a better, like, think of it this way, right? You have a wolf, a Stoat, and a squirrel in your deck. If you wait to place down the wolf, you're getting an extra point of damage that exponentially goes. Like, for example, if you place the Stoat down, it'll do 1 damage the first turn, 1 damage the second turn. If you wait, I guess the strategy here is place the Stoat down, place the squirrel down, sacrifice Stoat and squirrel to place the wolf down, and essentially get 3 damage that way. So wolf is a really good card. Like, okay, let me go back to Stoat though. Stoat is like, he's the bare minimum, you know? He's on par with the ant, like, for real. No sigil is annoying. It's also PO3. Personal bias puts him in C. Stunted Wolf is a 2/2. Better than the Stoat because of the way health works in this game. For 1, I'll put you in B because you're 1 price. Turkey Vulture, dude, 8 freaking bones. It is a 3 for 3 and flying. But 8 bones? The thing is, if you pull a Turkey Vulture, you're going to be trying to farm for bones for the Vulture itself, which can put you in either a way worse or way better position. If you're just bone farming. I'll put you in B because you have good damage, good sigil. Like, this is what you'd want with the Amalgam, right? Is a 3 flying 3. But the problem is the cost is just so high here. By the time you can actually play the card, your battle should be mostly over, I feel like. The Uralai is the most high damaging card, or like the best stat card in the game. I've only been able to play him with the 4 blood thing once, only ever once. But when I did play him down, he did like destroy the entire boss. You're high A because you cost. You're the only 4 costing card in the game. You can't be an A. You just cost. Like, you need to have some kind of blood totem or black goat to make you useful. Otherwise, it's a waiting game of like over 4 turns to get the Uralai to play. So, you know, whatever. Now we have Wolf Cub and Wolf, our last 2 cards on the list, and I'll organize them. Oh, jeez, man. Oh, jeez. Wolf Cub and Wolf. Ah, man. I mean, they're good. They're good. This is kind of like what you want to have with the Stoat, where you place it down, get a hit, then trade it off for a second Wolf. This is kind of the dream for early game. Wolf Cub goes in B, and I'll put Wolf in, like, lower A. And that's my list. I'm going to take a moment here and organize it. I'll be back in a quick second. So let me organize it, and I'll be back right away, and we'll talk about our final decisions here. Back in a second. Okay, guys, I think I've got this mostly organized here. I didn't want to spend too much time because the B tier is kind of like they're all the same tier for me. It wasn't too much to organize there, but everything else I have pretty much set in order. We'll go from the top to bottom, starting with the S tier. I think the Ouroboros is literally the best card in the game. It is a free game break if you have, you know, literally 1 sigil on it or like 1 totem. It is just insanely good for you. It honestly, even like by itself, a 2/1-1 is not that great. But if you are turning a 2/1-1 to a 2/2/2 to a 2/3/3 to a 2/4/4, like, it snowballs fast. The Magpie is next because the Magpie is literally a choice between every single card. A Magpie might honestly be better than the Ouroboros because it literally is a choice between every single card on this list if you have it in your deck. It's crazy. Mothman is next. Mothman is the highest damaging card in the game at base, aside from the Uralai, obviously, or the Ouroboros. But he also has flight and is created off only a 1 blood sacrifice from a larva pupil. It's 3 turns you get this guy. It's pretty impressive. Mana's God is a really high chance for DPS with, like, if you get any kind of bonus with him, you get 1, 2, 3, potentially even, like, you know, 2, 2, 2, which will be, you know, 2, 4, 6 damage, or you could, you know, use it to get a 1-turn KO with this guy. Is a little insane. A little bit too much, honestly, at certain points. Greater Smoke is next because that is a free card every single boss fight that also does damage and turns into 4 bones when dead, meaning that if you have a bone card in your deck, once this guy is dead or you sacrifice him for a better 2 blood card, you can get that back and you can turn it into, you know, half of a freaking turkey vulture, things like that. I then moved Child 13's like sacrificed state up because you know, you get a different sigil, different stats every time you sacrifice it. That goes in order and it gets better and better. Like right now, these stats right here are better than the Mantis God, but it's all up to chance and how many times you want to use him to sacrifice. But he's kind of like a choose your own sigil card in my eyes. Next we have A. We'll go a bit faster here. Urali 7/7 for blood. It could be S, but the blood is a bit too much to cost. You have the instantly 2/4/3 card, potentially even better. I put the bell above the card because the card is inconsistent. If you want to make a really strong play one turn and put down like every card you have in your hand, it'll now be a zero damaging tentacle card, which kind of sucks. But for consistency's sake, I put the bell tentacle above him. I got Amalgam for free, like random sigil plus 2/3/3, very good stats. 3 blood sacrifice, infinite sacrifice, bifocal attack that can be buffed pretty hard. Free play on a 5 bone card, very, very nice. The best defensive card in the game. A really good offensive card. And also defensive, well, I guess it's the worst defensive card in the game, the Great White is, but it does do a lot of damage across the board and could potentially, you know, two turn wipe a team. Grizzly, because I think Grizzly honestly is a bit of a better shark. I'll put him above him because he can defend against attacks, and with 6 health, you're not going down in 1 turn unless your opponent has a Mothman or a Urali. You're staying alive for that, so that's kind of like a free hit block as well as doing 4 damage across the board. Then you have the Douse, which is a beaver, but the beavers, the dams fight back, very good. One of the better flying cards in the game, a 2/2/3. Pack Rat for free items, I'll put him above the Raven, honestly, I think. Free Bone Rats to do 2 damage each. Mirror damage across from you, pretty much a free kill on any card you put it across from, and then whatever else comes its way. Aside from that, though, it is pretty useless. I put it lower on this tier list. The Skink for the you know, free like defense right off the bat. Stink Bug for killing any kind of 1 damaging card with no caveat there at all. Wolf is a solid card all around. Probably the baseline card in the game, a 2/3/2. Raven Egg turns into the Raven, but it's, you know, doesn't do anything else. And Golden Pelt, because it doesn't do anything in battle, it's only good outside of battle. Next, you got your B tier. I didn't put too much time into this one. It's kind of like, you know, threw them randomly, but kind of all cards that are situationally good, but aside from that, don't do a ton. Cage Wolf, you only get to see once. Only good against stronger enemies. Turns into Mothman. The only card with thorns, naturally, I'm pretty sure. Moves stuff around. Free, you know, placement card. Just kind of your random stuff like that. You have your extremely average tier of the Rattler, which just costs too much, but it's very powerful, so I put it up here, but it just costs way too much. The Beehive gives you bees and gives you pretty much free cards to play to deal flying damage. Worker Ant scale with how much health you have, which is what the Queen Ant is up here, so if you put him down, it's a free 1/1/2, which is not terrible, but it's not amazing. Field Mice for creating copies in your hands if you want to keep using, you know, if you have like a blood sacrifice thing on a cat, you can place down pretty much infinite Field Mice. It's a nice little synergy there, but again, base and by itself, it's just C tier. Fuck PO3. Bullfrog is one of only 2 cards that naturally has the Mighty Leap sigil, the other one being, I forget which one it is, but it's one of the stronger cards up here, if I recall correctly. One of you has the blocking thing, but I honestly forgot which one it was. However, for its rarity alone, it's above the D tier, I think, for now. But yeah, it's just got a unique sigil, and it doesn't do much outside of that. The Bat is just like a 2 damaging card that I might put you in B. You might be close to B, but you just cost a lot for not a lot of return. I think of it this way, right? I could place down 2 opossums like in staggering motion and get bones back and deal the same damage and have more health points than you have, just minus the sigil. You know, there's different uses for each. The Coyote is the same thing. I could literally just place down 2 of these guys and deal the same amount of damage that he does. And have, again, more hit points, so it's kind of like Plus, you're the Bat, but you have no sigil. It's kind of the same thing. Elk Fawn, because it can die in 1 hit and it moves, and I hate moving cards. Rabbit, because rabbits are only useful with the Warren. The Warren is up here, but outside of that, the rabbit's kind of just like a squirrel replacement. I don't see much use in it. And the pelts, because they're just pelts, they don't do anything. Then in D tier, we have the Alpha, which costs an insane amount of bones for no benefit, really, outside of just having 1 hit. The Snapper, because the Snapper is just defensive, and you'd rather place down like a wolf for the same price and kill anything in 1 hit anyways. The beaver, because the dams are really annoying to work with, and they kind of just are harmful to you unless she has flying cards. Cockroach, which is 4 bones for a 1/1 card. Get the hell out of here. You never see the undead cat, and the ringworm is only functional for the ring trial and the campfire. So this is my tier list here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, a like and a comment goes a long way for a small channel like mine. And aside from that, guys, I have been BD1P. Peace out and goodbye. Go play Inscryption.